Squad news from last night, everyone come through okay?
We just a few wee bits. Obviously, the main one would be that you see Liam Gordon coming off the park. Two kind of really heavy blows. Not a concussion, I have to say. It wasn't a concussion, so the guys are pretty content with that. So, but we will have to assess them. The first one's a challenge that I've been speaking about for a long time, Jane. It's the one where the defender goes to attack the ball. I've got an angle on it there. I keep talking about this making a back, as they call it in rugby. That's exactly what happens. Defender's committed off the ground, and as soon as you put any kind of touch on the defender there, put your backside in, lean into him, then you'll see what happens. We've actually got a still where he goes full length and he's landing on, a really hard surface, and it's his neck and his head that's breaking the fall. It's never a good thing, and there's a lot of complaints about, I think, Marley Watkins getting yellow carded, but it's nailed on for me in this modern day, and I'm actually quite glad, and this is where I'm always negative, or I feel I'm always negative. It's where I feel that the referee last night seen that and he understands it. I don't think that the striker's trying to hurt him, but again, you look at rugby, that's a sending off offence in rugby. It is, you're removed for the pitch at that point. That's not necessarily what I'm suggesting, it's just that we really need to be careful with those ones. But I think the referee seen it last night, and from me trying to be a pioneer of talking about that exact instant, then it's a small step forward that the referee recognised it last night.
Do you think there needs to be a bit more education on those types of
Absolutely.
And how do you go about doing that?
I think we all again have to take it serious. I really do. It's an awkward one because sometimes I don't think that strikers, it's generally centre backs and strikers that this happens with. We've had a couple with that scenario. Our analyst here has been kind of championing it for quite some time now. How dangerous it is, that idea of you've nothing else to break your fall. And I think in football we all turn around and go, it's not a bad tackle, he's not trying to hurt anyone. It's arguably the most dangerous one that you're going to get in any sport, not just football. As I say, rugby have taken that one really, really serious now, and I think we kind of need to follow suit to a point of trying to protect people from head injuries, neck injuries, which are ultimately the most serious you're going to get.
So whose responsibility is that? Can you as a club, take that somewhere, or is it the SFA?
We have been for a long time now, Jane. Every time we see it, not just in our games, but in games across the country, and it's not trying to be telltales. It's not trying to grass on anybody, for want of a better phrase. It's just that we're trying to bring this to people's attention. We have done for a long time, because what do we do? Does it take Liam Gordon with a really serious head or neck injury there before we actually start to say, we need to watch this? We know that's one. People say giving up certain situations. If you see the centre back or any player for that matter in the dominant position, they're fully off the ground as they were. And unless you're jumping with them, I think you can jump with them, because at that point nobody's going to go kind of full circle and land in their head. But I don't think you can plant your feet in the ground and put your hips in and take their kind of lower half and make them go out of control.
So when you just cut the comparison, when you say you've been kind of championing it, who are you doing that to?
We're sending clips to well, it was Crawford Allen last season. Didn't feel as if there was any kind of change on that, or anybody was prepared to recognise it. We actually got a foul given against us for one of the worst ones I'd seen here last season against Aberdeen. It was remarkable. It was absolutely remarkable. And then spoke to the officials in the second half. Almost identical thing happened, and we got the foul in the second half. So again, it's what we need to know what we're looking at. We need to understand what we're looking at. But as I say, the referee seen it last night, and I'm not saying that there's any malice from Marley Watkins last night. It's a striker contact, but I think you need to understand when the opposition player's off the ground, you need to leave that one. I don't think you can go into a striker contact at that point unless you're going to get off the ground.
Do you tell your own strikers not to do it as well?
Yeah, it's something we speak about on a daily basis. Try to educate them within training, because the last thing we want is that type of thing happening in a training session, and maybe one of the strikers does it to one of your centre backs and you end up with a serious injury. So again, I'm somebody that loves the contact element of the sport. I need to make that very, very clear. Sometimes some of the follow throughs you see on ground challenges and stuff like that, for me, is a consequence of winning the football and timing a challenge well, somebody maybe running in at pace, but those ones I think are clear cut.
Obviously you're in a run of tough away games as well. The Is the resilience that you showed last night going to be important in this spell as well? So you've got a team probably that's probably the only unbeaten team during this kind of crazy, kind of hectic festive schedule as well.
Yeah, it's arguably as difficult a fixture as you could draw at the end of what's been a marathon for us. It really has been a marathon. I wasn't trying to kid anybody on last night. My eyes from the stand tell me that we were well below standard, but we did show a resilience, we did show a togetherness. We relied on some real good goalkeeping, we relied on a world-class block, last-ditch block for Dan Casey for us to get out there with a clean sheet and for us to get out there with a point. It was our extra game in a lot of clubs in the division, and as much as I possibly can, I've analysed the game since it. You know, I understand what we can do better, and that will certainly be pitched across to the players. But I do draw on several major positives from the game. That being that you've gained a point in a game that we probably should have lost. I think we're 10 points better off than we were at this stage last season. We're 3 points off third position. It's back-to-back clean sheets. There's a number of positive aspects, but always knowing that I feel that there's much more to give, and I feel that there's much more quality that we can show.
Jim Goodwin was talking last night after his game at Celtic Park about I think he mentioned it was going to be 7 games in 21 days for a side, and it just seems, you know, he was saying it was kind of dangerous. The players are not robots. He's just trying to make sure that players aren't getting injured, almost picking his team to avoid injury. Have we gone too far at this stage of the season? I mean, I don't know why your game last night was rearranged into after the busiest time of the season.
I don't understand either. I don't get it. You know, I can jump in the bandwagon here comfortably, but I spoke to Derek as well last night after the game, and they don't play this weekend, so obviously that's kind of their last one in the string, but I think he was in agreement with me that we potentially could have looked at that one to be played at a different time. I didn't think we had to squeeze that one in and amongst all of this. And yeah, we've had plenty of muscle injuries, we've had plenty of situations where we're looking at players and believing and thinking that they're a bit fatigued. I thought we looked at last night, I thought we did. I thought we looked a wee bit, a little bit tired, and I thought that our reflexes and our reactions were a wee bit slow last night. And we've got a couple of days to tidy ourselves up and look forward to the next one. But now the focus for me comes to getting to 5 o'clock against Hibs on Saturday, with the best performance that we possibly can, try to see if we can get ourselves a result, and then we go into I need to give the players a couple of days. Now I think you guys know that I'm not huge on days off and that type of thing, but they've ran a race to this point, they really have, and Jim's absolutely right. We're at the stage where we're majorly risking injury. I think we've played potentially a game or two extra on some of the English clubs that have got far greater resources than us, far bigger squads than us. They're much bigger clubs that can probably absorb that type of fixture calendar. I think we've played 1 or 2 games more than some of the big clubs down south, which seems a bit strange.
Sure, so when you look at your fellow manager David Gray, he seems to have turned a corner now. He was through a rough patch. Is it refreshing to see a club and a board stick by a manager when through a tough time like that?
Well, yeah, this is where I find it difficult to say, yes, you'll understand that's what I absolutely believe in. I think you need a trust, I think you need a backing. Sometimes you need people to shut out some noise that's out there, because I always talk about how knee-jerk this whole thing is. People want to try and create stories and write you off before you even get a chance to do a job. Certain things in football just don't happen overnight, and sometimes you do well and then you take 2 or 3 steps backwards. That's how that goes. I experienced a similar thing myself last season, which I've spoken about a couple of times, and had a group of people here at the football club that backed me to the hilt. They understood that the players were 100% with me. They had a sense and a feeling that we could try and get to a point where we're 10 points better off and being in the top half of the table, as we have been, as close as it is, by the way, I would need to mention. But sometimes you need that faith and that trust in people. You can't, to my opinion, you just can't keep changing things all the time and expect to get a better version. The whole thing becomes unpredictable, and I think David's certainly shown that this recent run is something that they've been working towards. And do you know what I'd need to say as well? We've actually played them a couple of times, and I feel that going into both of those games, we felt that they were a good side. I think they were on the wrong end of a couple of late goals, they were on the wrong end of 1 or 2 mistakes that they were punished for. I've kind of always felt since the start of the season that Hibs are a good side with a good squad.
When you look at the game against Rangers, they impressed in an attacking sense, but they did concede 3 goals. Do you see areas there where you can
Yeah, Rangers scored 3 goals against Celtic a couple of days before that as well, so they can do that to teams, can't they? So again, the unpredictable nature of this league. Every team for me carries quality, and every team can hurt somebody else. That's the way this is. Look at the league table. Everyone's had spells where they've had good runs and scored goals and become a handful. And I think, as I say, Hibs are pretty well versed in all aspects, and I think they've got good options across their squad. They're a big club. They invest well in their squad. They don't scrimp and scrape in that sense, and they've got good players. So I expect a real difficult challenge in the weekend.
Trent, Paul McGinn and Stephen O'Donnell on the park together for the first time probably since October, and both injured. Considering the amount of injuries you've had in pretty much all areas in the park, how important is it just to especially Paul who's not played a lot, to get an impact in the park and sort of bring that leadership and stability? I think there might be over 4 or 5 captains now by this stage in the season.
Yeah, you want that to be as consistent as you possibly can. Obviously, Liam Kelly for us long term was the captain and hadn't been out of the team and played all the games. So yeah, you look for that stability. I thought these guys showed their experience and they helped us through a kind of difficult period last night. And as much as I speak about trying to blood in some young players and exciting talent and all the rest of it, there always has to be a blend, and quite clearly these guys are at the football club and they were re-signed at the football club because I believe in how good they are. I believe in their qualities that they bring, and one of those big aspects is their experience and their know-how. I think they're over 1,000 games between the two of them now, so they understand the game and they can help people along beside them. So we're going to need more of that certainly in this second part of the season.
And how's Harry Paton? He's missed the last couple of games. Has he got an injury? Or is it...
The problem is hamstring. We're just assessing him. We don't think it will be long term, but he had a bit of an issue with his hamstring after the Hearts game, so just monitoring that over the next probably week or so to see when we can get him back involved fully.
André came in yesterday. How happy are you with that? And do you see anybody else coming in your future?
Delighted for Kai. It was a bit of a whirlwind. He was chucked in at the deep end at a point again where we weren't doing particularly well in the game yesterday. I thought he personally showed up reasonably well. I thought he had a couple of good moments in the game. He turned it over, he had a couple of bursts forward, and that's a tough place to go and play football at any stage, let alone when you've just had a couple of hours with your teammates and your new teammates. So no, I was pleased for him, pleased for it to get him on the pitch at the earliest opportunity for him to experience that. And then in terms of trying to bring anybody else in, it's only going to be whether it filters into our structure here, and it's only going to be if I think it's something that will give us a wee bit added quality and a wee bit of strength and depth. I'm not looking at this point to just bring in players for the sake of bringing them in.